You're watching The Citizen Report. Real, in-depth American.
Welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm John DeShannon. Thank you for joining me today. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. It's good to be back here with you. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Well, it has been quite the week, hasn't it? And I don't know how you might be taking all the news that's been ongoing this week. For me, it's been one of those weeks that it's been a bit of a process to kind of get through, sort of digesting all the intake of information that's been happening, of everything that's been happening this week. And I can say, chances are you've already heard the news, that they've already apprehended now the suspect that is believed to be the shooter. Now, people have questions. I have questions. Certain things are not adding up. There is, you have the backpack, for example, on CCTV, that if he was actually holding, for example, using a rifle or whatever type of gun was used, there's some questions as to how that could break down into his backpack. And personally, I have questions as to whether the CCTV footage is from before or after the shooting. I believe it's probably before, because we see on certain exterior security footage that he basically, is trying to get off the building, literally off the building, off the roof of the building, that is. And by the way, the individual's name is Tyler Robinson. It's my understanding, by the way, and this is rather profound in of itself, as a bit of a side note, that a minister of the gospel, at least that's what's been said on the internet, that is also a law enforcement officer, basically realized who this person was, went to the father, basically, and said, look, your son is the one that did this, I think, or something along those lines. And the father ended up turning his own son in. So that's an interesting detail that has come to light, as it were. And I just want to really just take a few moments and sort of go through this with you a little bit as to some of the other elements of this whole event. And as you can see by the title of this broadcast, mainstream media's admiration of Charlie Kirk's passing. And I didn't choose those words lightly. I'll be honest, usually I have kind of a good idea of how to title a video, and in this case, just being honest with you, I really did not know what to call this, because it's just so shocking. And what I'm going to get into tonight is going to, it's probably going to be a little difficult for you to hear this. And I just want to start with something that I've already mentioned in a previous broadcast, but that will serve as a sort of a pretext to the other things I'm going to get into tonight. And that is the mainstream media actually, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, of course, in your gut, you probably know this already, but the mainstream media, they're not impartial to this. They're not just covering this event, in all decency. Unfortunately, the media is not just biased against Christians and conservatives. They are literally celebrating what has happened. And they may not show it right on TV intentionally, but you're going to see in a little bit exactly what I'm talking about here. First, let's go to MSNBC, and this individual, let me get the name right. It was a contributor by the name of Matt Dowd, was terminated from MSNBC Wednesday night after he made controversial comments on live TV. And let's put this up for you as a starting point so you can hear in his own words what he said. That was just unacceptable.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
Talk to me about the environment.
So that was Matthew Dowd on the payroll of MSNBC, literally, basically, in essence, saying that Charlie Kirk brought this on himself. I'm just going to let that marinate for a second, because whether you are left of center, right of center, I don't care where you are politically, that kind of language should never be used. And I'm pretty sure conservatives generally don't do that. We don't, and just as a side note here, have you seen riots in the streets in the last couple of days? I mean, no, we haven't. All we have seen are vigils and just general grief by the American public. What happened during the George Floyd thing? Personally, I remember they were literally closing stores in the Charlotte, North Carolina region early, because there was actually fears that they would be rioting even in that area. And so that is the kind of difference we're talking about here. Now, that is just the beginning. And I hate to say it, that is just the mild version of what I'm about to get into here. Now, this is a forum, FORUM, website that I am actually a member of, full disclosure. And I even now am hesitant to give the name of this forum, because I don't want to give them undue negative publicity, because at least they tolerate, I guess, freedom of speech there, to their credit, as distasteful as some of the comments have been. But let me just lay the groundwork of what I'm about to talk about. So basically, there is a website that is, to sum it up, basically deals with the broadcast industry. And so you kind of talk about the technical aspects, like transactions, buying and selling of stations and networks. And, it's kind of like this virtual town hall, as it were, of the broadcast industry, if you'd like. And this is the kind of rhetoric that's being used to describe, or to react, if you will, to the termination of Matt Dowd. Before I get to that, before I forget, I want to put this up on screen real quick. This is MSNBC's public relations department. This is what they actually said. Statement from MSNBC President Rebecca Cutler. Quote, during our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. Now, I will tell you, that was the correct response for MSNBC. As much as I fundamentally disagree with them politically and their ethics, the way they do things, in of itself, that was the right thing to do. To say, we're not going to allow this person to continue being on our air saying these kind of things, in the wake of saying those kind of things. Now, this is going to be a forum, and that basically, let me put it to you this way. So basically, you kind of have a mixed bag of things. So some people on this forum website, I'll just tell you, localnewstalk.net is the website. You have kind of people from all different walks of life. You have some people that currently work in the broadcast industry, former, workers of the broadcast industry, and you also have those that are just interested generally in talking about it. So when I share these comments, it does not mean, I want to be very clear by saying, this is not to say these are people behind the scenes at MSNBC or somewhere. I don't know who these people are, frankly. They could just be some keyboard warrior, so to speak, with no actual substantive ties to the media, okay? Now, with that said, this is some of the rhetoric that was said. I'm just going to put it up on screen for you. And I'm just still kind of figuring out the best way to do this. But basically, the first person, and most people on this site don't even post their real names. For me, I go by my middle name, for example. Some people go by, really random type of usernames here. Let me just actually adjust the screen real quick. I'm going to just do it this way, so that way there's context to what you're seeing. So first person to make a post on this matter said, MSNBC has fired contributor Matt Dowd for his comments on today's assassination of Charlie Kirk. Okay. Now, again, I'm just adjusting here. This is the first response to that. MSNBC continues to show that it is out of touch with its audience. There is nothing, he said, that the average MSNBC, I assume the person meant viewer, would not agree with. And then he or she goes on to talking about, former hosts, doing their own digital stuff now, and, basically generally disagreeing with the decision. You can see that clear as day there. And actually, I just now realized this. Let me adjust again so you can see the full statement there. But so that's what this individual said. Okay. Now, I come in and respond. I don't, by the way, this part of the website deals specifically with MSNBC. I, needless to say, don't hardly ever say anything about MSNBC on this site, but this is what I said in response to it. I wrote, and I was trying to give as much benefit of the doubt as I could possibly give, more so than even, honestly, my personal convictions would. It said, it shouldn't matter where someone stands politically. It is simply unacceptable that a commentator would use subjective and negative phrases to describe the deceased, especially when he was shot just minutes prior. He could have reserved that language for another time, and it wouldn't have been so controversial. But the fact he did not showed poor judgment in the network ultimately acted appropriately in its response to it. Now, the reason I said that I actually gave the most benefit of the doubt more than my personal convictions would is because of the fact that personally, this is beyond poor judgment. This is what the individual actually believes, Matthew Dowd. He actually has this kind of contempt and disdain for someone who disagrees with him. And it's really sickening. Okay? Now, this is what riles me up personally. There was an individual that responded to my post that said, I disagree. There are lots of horrible, hateful political figures all over the world not being allowed to point out the fact that they spew hate or do hateful things when they die makes zero sense to me, and I have not seen this applied to other horrible people who have been killed. All the comments I have read from actual MSNBC viewers are outraged that he was fired. Viewers are also upset at how much coverage MSNBC has given this compared to the horrific school shooting that happened on the same day. Under Rebecca Cutler, MSNBC seems so disconnected from its audience. Now, let me just respond to that personally. First of all, if this is actually true, and it's just one person's opinion, that the average MSNBC viewer actually agrees with calling Charlie Kirk basically a hateful bigot, which is baseless. I mean, there's actually a video where Charlie Kirk, is confronted by how supposedly hateful he is, and he asks the individual, and he does it in a very Charlie Kirk kind of way, very, inquisitive, not confrontational, but firm. He asks the person, okay, name one example I was hateful, and the person just kind of floundered. He could not. This individual literally could not come up with a response specifically as to when Charlie Kirk was hateful. Let me just interject it by saying Charlie Kirk was hated because, one, first and foremost, he was a Christian and was very, very, very public about that. And he was going onto college campuses that is 95% on the left of center. And basically, he was like telling these students, you can have a different opinion than these leftist Marxist ideologies that's been perpetuated deliberately, might I add, by the mainstream education system. So let's go back to the forum for a second. I won't go on too much longer with this, but I do want to just read a little bit more. This is what another individual said. Although I personally agree with what Dowd said, there is a time to say that. Minutes after his shooting wasn't the time when, and still as of 6 a.m. Thursday morning, we do not have any suspect as a shooter and what that person's motivation is. The more that is disclosed of how professional of a hit this was puts a lot of doubt in mind. And then the person kind of goes into this can go both ways, and supposedly, this happened on the other side of the political aisle, and, I'm not going to get into all that right now. But, and there's really no need to read all these, but let's go to the last one, the most recent one, which I think is noteworthy. This is what another individual said. Agreed. He said nothing wrong, which is MSNBC, or why is MSNBC so quick to have standards of verbal censorship for people who have none? Note, this is not an attack on conservative ideology or pro-Democrat. This is just pointing out the current situation. And then the person also said, I disagree. Let's remind ourselves that many followers on Kirk's side of the aisle were making fun of the Minnesota lawmakers who were assassinated moments after their killings. They also called the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband a homosexual conspiracy moments after it happened. Any accusations of inappropriate timing on their part would be the pot calling the kettle black. Well, first of all, that's not accurate. Because you can point out extreme examples, left or right, okay? You're always going to have people that kind of take advantage of a news event and spin it in some way that is distasteful. But what I would argue is the fact that it doesn't negate the fact that in the immediate coverage, you were already painting somebody in a way that was not only inaccurate, but was deliberately meant to basically put down the reputation of Charlie Kirk when, of course, Charlie Kirk actually was killed. At this point, it was just known that he was shot. But this is the kind of rhetoric, folks, that the mainstream media is perpetuate. Again, this forum does not mean that the people writing these things are actually in the mainstream media. I'm just saying this is the kind of rhetoric that's been ratcheted up that you can see. And it's very, might I say, disturbing. And God's not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and sound mind. So I don't want to say that, we need to be fearful of this rhetoric. I'm just saying we need to take note of this and understand the media is not your ally. The mainstream media is not your ally. And unfortunately, they are complicit to what has happened. And I know that's a bold thing for me to say, but that is absolutely the truth, in my opinion. And that's my conviction and my conscience on the matter. So my next thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of the building up to the sort of the climax, if you will, of what I want to talk about. Believe it or not, this was originally the climax, and I have, the printouts and everything of what I just said. That was what I was originally planning to make the focus until I saw what I'm about to talk about. And some of you may have seen this elsewhere. So there is an outlet, many of y'all will be familiar, called TMZ, okay? My understanding, someone can correct me, they are still owned by Fox Corporation. Fox Corporation, by the way, also owns Fox News. And I want to know what Fox is going to do about this, because I can talk about the left media, and I don't know where TMZ, if they have a political leaning, but let's just say they kind of outed themselves with the Charlie Kirk thing. Now, I'm going to break down not just what happened in their, I'm going to use quotations for it, newsroom, okay? But also the context as to what live TV was showing at the time. Of course, there's, this is Southern California where TMZ is, I believe, headquartered. So you're going to have more than one station on, but I think the context of at least one station being shown is going to completely blow out of the water their attempt to say this was not Charlie Kirk that they were reacting to. So what I want to talk about, what I want to show you, I should say, is TMZ. They were live doing their coverage, I guess, of Charlie Kirk when the following can be heard. And I'm just going to play this for you, and to me, it's pretty self-explanatory, and it's pretty sickening. Pretty sickening. Let me put this up now and just click into it, I guess. This is on X, and you can go find this if you'd like as well.
Janet, go go to have somebody look at the Fox. Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
All right, so is this ready to pull the trigger? We can get Trump cut in a second.
Janet, go to have somebody look at the Fox.
I'm at a loss for words right now. You heard someone clearly. You could hear the person say, "Wahoo!" as news was breaking of Charlie Kirk's passing. And TMZ attempted to explain this away by saying that, and I should have made it cropped better, but this is what they claim. And they also put out a video response, but I'm just going to put up the tweet that they made, the post on X, and this is what TMZ said. "We want to make it clear that these cheers were a reaction to a high-speed chase happening in California. This was prior to and not related to the Charlie Kirk death." This was prior to and not related to the Charlie Kirk death. Now, let's just play this one more time, because if it was prior to, let's listen to what he said, because it sounds like the same time to me. Let's go with it.
Trump just, Janet, go to have somebody look at the Fox. Trump just posted
That wasn't before.
that Charlie Kirk is dead.
That was the same time, and I can pretty definitively say that.
Janet, go.
That was pretty definitive. That was not prior. That was as it was happening. Now, if that's not a smoking gun, let me show this. Get ready to be blown away here. Now, by the way, this is one more
because they want to find.
This is one more video clip, and I just want to, out of due diligence sake and all of that, I just want to put this up and play this part out, because that was a pretty cropped clip. You only heard the immediate moments of that. Let me just go ahead and play this real quick, just a bit of it, so you can hear this particular recording of it. Courtesy of Laura Loomer on X, by the way.
If he's still on the loose because they want to find him. So I would think that that's one of the main reasons they're holding this news conference. So my guess is we're going to see an image of this guy possibly in the next 20 minutes. The news conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. Janet, go to have somebody look at the Fox. Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
I'm not quite positive. I'm not. I'm not quite positive if we're looking at north and south. Okay, and this is interesting. Okay, so you've got CHP that pulls up, and they have now pinned this person in, and now you're seeing a potential effort to get around that congestion.
Okay, so I just became aware that for the last moment or two, my mic was on mute. My apologies. That's what happens sometimes when I am doing this by myself. So I don't always look down to make sure my mic is live. So let me just say one more time what I'm showing you here. This is a high-speed chase that is happening in Los Angeles. TMZ is trying to say that they were cheering about this. And my question is, was there anything exciting enough that would cause them to cheer as it could be heard behind the scenes as the announcement was breaking about Charlie Kirk's death? So let's go to that. Let's go back to this now, having said that, so you can hear what the context of what I'm showing you, and I'll play it for you now.
You've got CHP that pulls up, and they have now pinned this person in, and now you're seeing a potential effort to get around that congestion. And CHP is being very aggressive here to stop this chase. There's going to be an officer behind, so now he's backing up, and it looks like they're going to pin this person in. So they must have some sort of idea that this person is not armed, but that is incredibly aggressive.
That is incredibly aggressive, and wow, the maneuver from this driver, that was pretty impressive. They found that one little sliver that they could get in between those cars, and now, I wonder what's going now. Oh,
CHP is really going to stop this vehicle right now. They are really trying to stop. They are aggressively. I'm not quite positive if we're looking at.
So now there's another clip where basically it's showing, similar footage, and then they are cutting over to a ABC News special report announcing the death of Charlie Kirk. So there was some action there, but did it rise to the level where you would hear cheers and all that kind of stuff? I don't think so. And I think the TMZ excuse is a little bit, it's deficient, I'll put it that way. But folks, whether you believe TMZ was cheering Charlie Kirk, his death, or not, that's for you to decide. I'm not going to make that call for you, although it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious to me. It's pretty obvious. So my apologies again a moment ago where my mic was on mute. I didn't realize that, but thankfully I caught it soon enough, I guess. But anyways, and just to repeat from the beginning, the individual who is accused of shooting Charlie Kirk has been apprehended. He is alive and in custody, but I have a question as to how this person at, I believe, 200 yards had the ability to shoot so precisely. And it's been reported that Charlie Kirk was wearing a thin bulletproof vest covering his chest, and the bullet basically bounced off of it into his neck, which in my opinion, that was worse, because if it hit him in the chest, I would imagine there was at least some chance he would have potentially come through it, because of course Reagan in the 80s was shot in the chest, and he ended up surviving, as close as it was to being something quite different. So that is pretty much it for me. And again, I apologize for my mic being on mute when it was earlier, but I hope that the message still came through clear as to what I was trying to convey here. But folks, what is the takeaway of all this? The mainstream media, they're not the friend of the people. They are the enemy of the people. And in my opinion, before all this is said and done, Many of these media organizations, rightfully so, are going to be bankrupt, and they're going to be out of business. And I can't, and I think that would be sweet justice for them, if you ask me. So, you know, the alternative media, the social media, that is the new media. And the Founding Fathers never intended for the media to look the way it is today, as far as the mainstream media part of it goes. The press is supposed to be by and for the people, for the people's benefit. And what we have today is something quite contrary to that, as far as the mainstream media part of it goes. I don't say this to anger you, by the way. I just want you to be aware of the media and their tactics, what they really think about you. If you're not some left-wing kook or some left-wing hack, they pretty much, chances are, hate you. Okay, you don't even have to be left. You don't even have to be right of center. If you're someone that's actually patriotic, I'm pretty sure the mainstream media doesn't like you, because they have a very, very different way of looking at things, and a very demonic way of looking at things, I might say. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I will be back with you soon, I hope. God bless each and every one of you, and until next time, I will see you again very soon. Have a good night and a great weekend, everyone. Have a good night.